A climbers, that's climbers born in 2001 or 2002. And finally, Youth B will get underway tomorrow, climbers born in 2003 and 2004. So from here on out, in the arena in the Dynamo part of Moscow, northwest of Red Square, it's lead all the way. And the first two climbers are out, and you can see there the pretty spectacular looking lead wall we've got here. The wall immediately to the right, the bouldering wall, is the same bouldering wall that was used for the World Cup back in April. And this lead wall was there all along when the Bouldering World Cup was on, but it was covered up then, dominated by that big star right in the middle. And it seemed that the women are underway. The women are on the right. Don't be confused by those two ropes in the middle. The women's route is the one on the right that currently has Lenka Slavakova, climbing on it, and the men's route is the far left of the wall. And there we can see the start list. As I say, the junior climbers are the oldest category of climbers here in Moscow, so a lot of the names will no doubt be familiar to regular IFSC viewers. A lot of these climbers we frequently see competing in and doing very well in senior World Cups. You can see there Slovenia, as you might expect, extremely well represented. 3 out of the last 4 climbers are Slovenian. 25th will be Hana Slaney, who won the junior bouldering towards the end of last week, or over the weekend. And you can see there the male juniors, again, familiar names, not so much on the men's side. A lot of the names might be new to you, but Nikolai Uznik might perhaps jump out. And see, as we get a bit further down the order, so Philip Schenk, Shooter Tanaka, these names no doubt familiar to many of our regular viewers. Nimra Marcus, Kai Harada and Yannick Floet, again, 3 well-known names coming out later on in the men's competition. So we've already lost Lenka Slavakova on the men's route. Harold Peters is climbing on the men's route, and I believe that's Alejandra Contreras getting underway on the women's. As ever, we've got the regulation 26 men and 26 women, no big ties coming into the semi-final today, and there'll be a cleaning break after the 13th climb on both routes. Hopefully the men's and women's cleaning breaks are not at the same time, so that we don't have any dead space. And as I said, you can see the men on the left, women on the right, men following a selection of red volumes, going gradually out right and then coming back left, the women doing the exact opposite. Their route curves out to the left, comes back right, and then direct up to the top. It's a fairly uniform wall here in Moscow, but that huge star volume and the other one over to the left, the half star, we can see Harold currently work his way past, are the main features. And as I say, don't be confused by the presence of those 2 ropes there. They're for other routes in other categories. It's a 16, by the way, from Lenka Slavakova. Don't forget that in lead climbing, it's about which hold you get to, which hand hold you get to, so you just get a single number score. It's not like bouldering where we get huge long scores with 4 methods of separating the climbers. You just get a straight up number. Just ignore that clock. Obviously the climber has disappeared with perfect timing. The climbers have 6 minutes to attempt each route, and Harold Peters going pretty well on the men's route, creeping up onto the head wall. Only the smallest of notches in standing below a World Cup route this. A lot of these climbers do very well and have made World Cup finals before in the seniors, so a percentage or 2 lower difficulty than a World Cup route. Still extremely high standing climbing. So Dylan Schwatt will be out next on the men's route. After the conclusion of this junior final, we've got the Youth A for you. The Youth B climbers, many of them were in action in the final for them today. What a final it was. Going into the last boulder, 5 women could have won the competition. Replay will be on YouTube, needless to say, so go and have a look at that. Alejandra Contreras. Now, as I said on the women's route, they curve out to the left on the green and yellow holds. It's a very aesthetic route, this, for the women. It's one of those routes that looks immensely complex. The climbers, of course, have had an observation period of 6 minutes to look at the route, but yeah, very complex looking. All sorts of different ways of doing the moves. Alejandra just shaking out, take your time, still on the very steepest section of the wall here. Got that quick draw on a bit of a tangle, now sorts it out, crosses through with the left hand, and she'll head out right, beginning to look a little fatigued here. Creeping out to the right to that round yellow hole that marks the edge of the very steepest section of the wall here in Moscow, and we lose her just before that steepest section. You can see the quick draw jangling. Very nearly got onto the head wall. Very early to say what may or may not be enough for a place in the final. For now, let's just watch a replay of Alejandra. Yeah, perhaps needed to go a bit further left to that screw, a bit further right to that screw on. Howard Peters, just to let you know, 31 for him on the men's route. This is Dylan closest to the camera. There he is on the, I said half star earlier, quarter star on the men's route. Still on the very most physical section of this route. You can see there on the top of your screen, along come the scores. Alejandra Contreras 31 plus to Lenka Slevakova's 16. And both climbers so far, Harold and Dylan, making pretty handy progress, very much onto the top section of this wall here in Moscow. This is the first chance for the route setters to have a look at these top 26 junior climbers, really study them, and during the qualifying round it's kind of hard to keep track of who's who and who is where. There's normally 4 climbers on the wall, but now the route setters will really be able to concentrate on the climbers, try and learn as much as they can so that they can get the difficulty level for the finals absolutely spot on. And we lose Dylan, as I say, just as he pulls over the reef. So getting established on the head wall, clearly one of the cruxes for both the men and the women. Joanna Neem now of Great Britain. The latest to try her luck on the women's route, over to the right on the Moscow wall. And she's there right in the middle of that huge star formed by the 5 different volumes. See there's also a quarter star on the left, which is where the men's route goes, and one over to the right. The wall currently covered in routes. We've had qualifying rounds for all 3 age categories, so a lot of the routes still left on the wall. It might look a bit messy, but fear not, come finals time, it'll all look nice and neat. There'll be just 2 routes per category on the wall. Giorgia Bendazzoli of Italy will be the next male climber onto the wall. There is the venue MC announcing him. Joe Neem gets going again.
Come on, come on. Не спеша, выверяя каждое движение.
She's just about to hit the very steepest section of the wall, last 4 meters, and then eases off slightly onto the head wall, but you can see she's really beginning to have to work hard. This section on the green volumes, it doesn't really let up. None of the individual moves apparently are super hard. It's just a lot of pretty hard moves, and you get tired quickly. Slaps up with her right hand. You can see the look on her face, how hard she's having to work. Slightly awkward clip, really the last thing you need at this stage. She gets it done, she's ready to go on. And a bit like we saw with Alejandra Contreras, just beginning to really feel it here. You begin to move out right pretty shortly, and you're onto that big round yellow volume. And we lose her just before the head wall. Pretty clear where this women's route really begins to kick in. Let's have another look. So she got that left hand. It's that slap up to the round ball with the right.
On the men's route, representing USA.
So we barely saw her, Giorgio Bendazzoli. Let's just have a look where his score was. Sadly fell off on the 11th move. 2 climbs before him, Dylan Harold tied on 31. Here's Bobby Taft-Pittman of the US. Got a big team here in Moscow. The US, they've had to travel pretty much as far as anyone to get to Moscow, opposite side of the world. As I say, they are very well represented. Mao Nakamura now will climb on the women's route. Bobby Taft-Pittman looking very controlled, very smooth through this lower section. You can see the profile of the wall here. It's overhanging all the way, 4 different degrees of overhanging. Gradually steepens for the first 3 panels and then kicks off back to 8 degrees overhanging on the final section.
Как мы уже могли заметить, представители Японии невысокого роста на Океане компенсируют отличной техникой, силой и выносливостью.
Bobby now onto the quarter star. You see there Mao Nakamura right in the middle of the main star, in the middle of the wall. And now Nakamura and Bobby Taft-Pittman, the 4th climbers out, so it's 1 by 1 as it stands in the men and across the men and the women. As I mentioned earlier, hopefully that means we don't get a cleaning break where there is nothing on the wall. Bobby just cutting loose there to get through this 31 move that seems to have stopped a couple of the climbers so far. And just tried to slap through the right hand, decided, or perhaps realised he couldn't do the move, but just couldn't come back down. Let's have another look. He got the heel hook in place. Yeah, he tried it, wanted to come back down and just couldn't. Now Nakamura now about to get established onto the very steepest section of this Moscow wall.
On the men's route, representing Russia, Daniil Shiryaev.
Daniil Shiryaev of Russia, the next climber out on the men's route. Now Nakamura on the left, Daniil Shiryaev on the left. And we lose Mao Nakamura again. Just trying to leave the steepest section and pull onto the head wall. Pretty clear that on both routes, that's where it's going to get really tough. And that's where it ended for Mao Nakamura. So clearly, fitness not so much of a problem for these climbers. They're all able to get through the steep section of the wall, but it's just that final pull over onto slightly easier ground above. Bronwen Carney of Canada about to make her way onto the women's wall. We're focusing for now on Daniil Shiryaev. Nice wide shot of the wall there. It's a pretty spectacular venue. And been some pretty exciting climbing gone on here in the last week and back in April as well. And again, it's at 31, or heading up towards that 31 move. That's around 26 plus for Bobby Taft. Excuse me, that was Bobby Taft-Pittman who got the 26 plus for Daniil Shiryaev. Let's have another look. So we saw Bobby slapping up with the right hand. Different method, but same idea, trying to get that right hand. He's a bit frustrated with himself. Yeah, the look of frustration. Bronwen now alone on the wall here in Moscow. Nikolai Uznik of Austria will be climbing next on the men's route. This is Bronwen.
Ladies and gentlemen, on the men's route, representing Austria, Nikolai Uznik.
Bronwen from Burlington, Ontario, choosing to take something of a rest. She's just at the top of the star on the triangular volumes. About to get established onto the upper section. Nikolai Uznik now from St. Johann in Austria. Creepy his way up the left hand side. You can see there are some tiny white screw-ons up the left, so it's not just gripping the arete. No black tape on this lead wall to denote the edge of the boulder or the edge of the route. Getting plenty of encouragement, Bronwen. She's got that move out to the right dialed.
Come on, Canada, come on. Come on, Canada.
She needs to get her right foot out. And if you can just get through this section, slightly easier ground awaits. But again, she got a couple of moves higher in that yellow hold. But nobody yet really got established on the terrain above. She was at 20th in the bouldering. What can she do in the lead?
И, конечно, вот то, что одна попытка дает какую-то интригу, трудности.
Ну что ж, а мы ожидаем следующую участницу на женскую трассу.
So Bronwen makes her way off the stage. Ditto Nikolai Uznik, just waiting for his score to come through.
On women's group, representing France,
Ну что ж, я хочу услышать знаменитую поддержку французских болельщиков. Наша уже практически международная...
See the scores going across the top of the screen there. So out next onto the women's route, Léa Delacqui of France. Nikolai Uznek will be followed out by David Overprantach of Italy, presumably from the South Tyrol, the German-speaking part of Italy. They are just getting established on the lower section. You can't win a place in the final on the lower section, but you can definitely lose one. But she's climbing nice and smooth, efficiently, doing exactly what needs to be done at this stage. Here's David on the men's route, left-hand side of the Moscow wall. Pretty much cruising so far. It's the seventh man out, and Léa is our sixth woman. So the men's semi-final, it would seem, moving along at a slightly quicker pace than the women's. You can see they're both climbers pretty much the same height on the wall. Women's route really begins to kick in where it steepens. Wondered if we might see David attempt a double clip there. Looked like he could reach the net quick draw. Leah just entering that steep section, the triangular volumes, the green triangular volumes and the yellow screw-on holds looking increasingly familiar as this semi-final goes by. He's choosing to chalk up. It's not the most comfortable position from which to do so. So both climbers entering the very steepest section of this Moscow wall simultaneously. David Overprantak closest to our camera, Léa Delacroix on the right. Plenty of encouragement. Die, 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 shouts the venue MC as we lose Leah. She was just in the middle of that steepest section, didn't quite make it to the head wall. You can see her looking back up, wondering what happened. Top 8 going through to the finals, remember. On 8 men and 8 women through. Now then, David up to that big white sausage-shaped hold. That move stopped a couple climbers previously. And he was trying to work his way up that snake hold, the white one above. Perhaps just got himself a bit too far left, so he then couldn't cross through with the right hand. Sergei Turpchev of Russia will be the next climber out on the men's side. Laura Stuckler is climbing on the women's route, or will be in just a second. This is a quick recap of David on the route. This was on the lower section when he's on the star, so he's just hit the steepest section right here.
On the men's route, representing Russia, Sergei Tupyshev.
So here's Sergei Tupyshev. This is still a replay of David. Wasting absolutely no time at all. Laura Stuckler getting stuck straight into things. As it stands, a 31 plus is the score to beat on the women's side, and 31 for the men's. So, although they're not quite the same number of moves on both routes, 31 moves proven to be the crux so far. Here's Laura Stuckler, and here is Sergei. Working his way up towards the big star, so he's still relatively low down on the route. I've seen climbers take a rest where he is now, and he chooses to do the same and seems to find a slightly more comfortable position from which to do so. Dabai, dabai, says the venue MC. Sergei Slightly awkward looking clip, a bit of at full reach slightly. Laura Stuckler now heading into the very steepest section of this wall here in Russia. The women, as I say, no special cruxes on this section, but it's complex. There's lots of things to think about. It looks when you're below it as if there's all sorts of different ways to climb it. So it's about quickly and efficiently finding the way. Sergey now got to try and free up one hand. Trying to do it statically, you might struggle with that. You've got to go at some stage. Now he goes with the right hand, but he was looking tired and we lose him just pulling over that edge. And that's where we lost him. Here's Laura Stuckler, trying to be the first climber to really make a good dent on this head wall. She's really having to fight hard. She was just trying to readjust that left hand and we lose her. Could well be enough though, you don't know. It's still very early days, but still. Yeah, tried to get a hand on top of that volume.
On the men group, representing USA, Zach Gala. Come on, Zach.
Zach Gala now of the USA climbing, and Lena Groupiron of France. Keep an eye top of your screen, the scores coming through as they stand.
Сейчас мы не слышим, а я еще и вижу, как спортсмен, который...
Zach Gala now well underway.
Хобби поддерживает своего товарища по команде. Come on, Zach, come on. Come on, USA.
Going pretty well so far. Keep up a pretty good cadence as well.
Посмотрим, какие результаты будут после полуфиналов.
Lena just hitting the star on the women's side of things. Zach Gala getting a lot of encouragement from down the front. Team USA watching their second climber out on the men's side of this semi-final. You can see that familiar looking hold facing to the left just before the big white snake hold. Here he goes. He's got the left hand in place. Again, that slap up with the right hand causing problems, and we lose him heading up to that big white snake. So let's focus now on Lina,
Мне тоже появляется следующий спортсмен
on
на мужской
the
трассе.
triangles and the yellow holds on the women's route.
Representing Luf Imer Albert, Sweden.
With Albert as getting ready to climb on the men's route. There he is, pulling on the bottom left. 26 men and 26 women in today's semi-final, all gunning for a place in the final, but there are only 8 slots available for the women and 8 for the men. Lina getting a lot of encouragement but looking tired now, and yep, slapping up with the right hand. You could see such an uncomfortable position to hold that, your feet tucked in underneath you, underneath the overhang, hands in front of your chest. Can't hang on to that position for long. So she heads back in. Her work is done for the day and she doesn't look too unhappy with it.
On winner route, representing Russia, Tesio.
Alessia Prosikova is climbing now
Allez, Sweden, allez.
on the women's route, or is about to climb. Alessia Prosikova. Keep an eye top of your screen there. Laura Stuckler, Dylan Schwartz currently leading the way in the overall standings. Not quite the same dominance by Team Japan in the lead as we've seen in some of the bouldering this week. They picked up 4 medals today, and that's a frustrating outcome for the Swede.
Ох, какие эмоции. Ну вот так, да. Вот так назвали только спортсмены из Швеции.
I might have heard us shout. We're a good 50 metres away and several partition walls away from the wall. Still heard it echoing around the arena. Let's have a look where he was. Was he getting up to, was he heading up to the white hold? Oh, I was slapping for the one before. And he looks pretty hacked off. Barely get his knot undone, I can see why.
Representing Japan, Yuta Imazumi.
Now here's a climb a lot of people are looking forward to seeing. Yuta Inazumi. We talked about him a lot in the bouldering where he was 4th. Done 1 World Cup before, finished 35th. Never done the Youth World Championship before. And the Japanese coach was just saying, ooh, watch out for this guy. And as I say, look worth the hype in the bouldering. How will his springy, powerful style transfer to the lead, where we are about to find out?
Что ж, великолепную технику демонстрирует представитель Японии. Ловко, четко, быстро продвигается по маршруту.
It's still early days, but he's got a very, very fast climbing style. Alessia Prosikova is over on the women's route. We're focusing right now on Yuta Imazumi. And will he take a bit of a rest here? Seems to be pretty minimal. He's on his way again. Absolutely rocketing through this route.
простые маршруты, которые сделаны подготовщиками.
Wants to be careful here. None of these moves are gimmies. We've lost climbers on all these moves.
Ну что ж, вспомним, как участники
Doesn't look especially tired. But he just needed to do something with his feet, and he's absolutely furious with himself. He was waving his left leg around trying to find something to do with it, and I think the momentum of it pulled him off the wall. And that's absolutely gutting for him. Let's have another look. So he looked completely solid. He just missed that big star with his left foot, and the momentum of it just pulled him off the wall. Matthias Posch now of Austria, the next climber on to try his luck. Alessia Prosikova still going strong on the women's route. She's been climbing a long time, though I think time will be an issue. 6 minutes to find a way. Again, we just lose her heading up to the head wall.
Ну что ж, а мы ожидаем следующую участницу на женской трассе.
Let's have another look. So what was she doing? Was she just readjusting at the time? Yeah, tried to come back down, didn't like her method, but these routes are just designed in a way that you can't climb back down. You've got to get it right the first time.
On women's route, representing Austria, Matea Pezzi.
So Matea Puzzi of Austria makes her way out onto the stage. It's all Austria right now. Matthias Posch is climbing on the men's route on the left.
Австрийка. Демонстрируя очень уверенное лазание. Но не все так просто на данной трассе, как мы уже могли заметить.
All Austria on the lead wall here. If you're just tuning in, welcome to Moscow. Charlie Bosco here with the junior lead semi-final. Had 3 speed finals for you, 3 bouldering semi-finals and 3 finals, and now it's all about the lead. 3 semi-finals, of which this is the first, and of course 3 finals to go along with it. We've got 26 men, 26 women gunning for 8 male and 8 female slots in the final. The final will take place tomorrow. So the climbers' finals are actually taking place in the evening, so the climbers will have over 24 hours of rest, which given the schedule most of them have kept could come in pretty handy. And Matthias Posch is going really well here on this men's route. He's onto that hold above and left of the big snake hold, but you can see how pumped he's getting. Tiny little crimps, really the last thing you want to see at this stage. Has he got another move in him? Can he slap up with his left hand? He can. If he can get his feet underneath him, he might stand a chance. Goes out left. Just couldn't find a way to get his feet into use. So let's see it again. So he got the left hand. You could see elbows out. He was getting pretty tired at that stage.
Ну что же, мы встречаем следующего участника. Ladies and gentlemen, on the route representing
Kokoro Takata of Japan climbing now.
Ivanov.
Excuse me, yeah. Petr Ivanov. Look at my female starters. We've got Matea Puzzi climbing now. She'll be followed out by Kokoro Takata. didn't seem right. And she looks like she's still got a bit of energy left. We've seen some climbers looking very tired by this stage. This is a hard move over the lip though. There's 2 triangular volumes and you've got to be super accurate when you go for them. She lets out a shriek of annoyance. Yeah, Kokoro Takata will follow her onto the wall. Petr Ivanov of Bulgaria is about to climb on the men's route. Here is Petr Ivanov. After him, we're halfway through this men's semi-final. The cleaning break will take place.
Как всегда, с полотенечком вышли близнецы Японии.
Да, для того, чтобы соперники были максимально чистыми.
Nikolai Yarilovets, excuse me, was practicing that one a few times, but clearly to no avail. Will be out after the cleaning break. So Petr Ivanov of Bulgaria, the last climber to go on the wall before the break. And you can see there, Tyus Posh has just taken the lead on the men's side. I think it's 32 plus, so it's Austria and Austria out of the front. They didn't have the best of times in the bouldering, with high hopes for them. They were not met here in Moscow, but in the lead things seem to be going a little more according to plan. This is Kokoro Takata.
Сейчас будет у нас перерыв. Будет перерыв на морской трассе.
So this must be where we lost Petr Ivanov. Slappy out to the left. That whole section there, clearly one of the big cruxes on this route. And there's now a cleaning break on the men's route. I think, hopefully, the timing should be about right, so that by the time they finish cleaning the men's route, it's time to clean the women's route and we never have an empty wall at any stage. So Kokoro Takata now, not quite at half height, perhaps needs to step up the pace a bit. We don't have a clock here because with 2 climbers it gets a bit too confusing, but can't help thinking she might need to speed things up slightly. Here she is now. She's launching into that very steepest section. Onto the triangular volumes with the yellow screw-ons. And really all the climbers have been pretty closely grouped together. The top 8 on the women separated by just 3 moves.
Как в Bouldering, так и в трудности. Ну и, собственно, готовятся они к старту в 2020 году.
Yeah, again, beginning to look a bit fatigued as she heads out to the right.
Но я могу сказать, что они готовятся не только к старту в 2020 году, готовятся еще и девушки.
Somebody seems to have found a bit of energy, just chooses to take a small shakeout.
2018 года на Юрских Олимпийских играх.
Team Japan can be heard throughout the arena cheering her on, but she just slapped up with the left hand and we lost her again, trying to enter the head wall.
Трассу очистить ее. От 10 до 15 минут тратить подготовки для того, чтобы все зацепки привести в порядок, очистить от магнезии, сделать так, чтобы они вновь стали максимально удобными для спаса.
So this was where we lost her. Yeah, slapped up with the left hand somewhat. Ryder Cups now of Poland will be climbing next. Men's route currently being cleaned. Just have a look at where our route setting team are up to, about a third height. Here is Ida, she's underway. 17th for her in the bouldering earlier this week. She's going pretty well so far, just a possible reading error there. Now she has a bit of a rethink and gets going again. Now she looks a bit more smooth. Minor error there perhaps, just in the way she was reading the route.
Задача подготовщиков трасс, в принципе, была такая же, да, то есть разложить по силе участниц, чтобы определить, кто достоин, кто готов, кто силен.
See the strain shown as she tries to place her right foot where her right hand was. Now she's found a way. She's kind of alternated between looking super comfortable and suddenly look as if she's finding the moves quite tricky.
Да, старт действительно кажется достаточно простым. Но уже вот с этого рельефа, с рельефа звезды, с центрального, уже начинается по-настоящему такая тяжелая, трудная работа.
Now she'll launch into the steeper section. You can see there the first, the green volume she's currently on now. And then she curves out to the left and comes back right, and that increasingly familiar looking round hole just below the lip. It was where we've really begun to see the climbers getting separated. So the route starts to get really, really pumpy here. You've got to pop up with the left hand and swing the right feet out. She decides to go with the right hand first. And she's completely ignoring that right foothold. Now she'll choose to use it. And that's a tough move through with the left hand. She's got it. Problem is how to move from here. And she got herself in a decent position, just wasn't able to get out of it. And we've got Eva Maria Hammelmuller of Austria to come out now. So yeah, that's a tough move up with the left hand, but then the problem was she just kind of got stuck and wasn't able to do anything with her feet to make any further progress.
Еще одна представительница сборной Австрии. Как мы можем заметить, Австрия стабильно хорошо работает и показывает результаты. Очень много спортсменов выходит из квалификации.
So one more climber, as I say, Eva Maria Hammelmuller before the cleaning break. The men's route currently being cleaned, or I think might just have finished being cleaned. Steady and control so far, and seems to have been reading the route pretty well as well.
Многие участницы проходят начальную
Clearly anyone that can really get stuck into this head wall here, I think will find their way into a final. Still that big group, and 10 climbers now fallen off between holes 30 and 33. And just looking across to the men's route on the left, and our route system team still busily cleaning that. Eva Maria Hamel-Muller using that shoulder flexibility to be able to push her hips in whilst keeping her arms in use behind her.
дошла до места отдыха. Ну что, посмотрим, сейчас уберется силовик смотрите зашли. Эва Мария. Але.
Now she gets going again. She's taking a good break and was able to free her hands up quite nicely.
Очень аккуратно стоит. Носочек.
Again, chooses quite intelligently to take a break before launching into the steepest section.
У нас закончилась подготовка трассы для мужчин. И сейчас
Now she's really having to work. Team Austria getting right behind her. She's got that left hand that we just saw Ryder Cups here get herself onto that left hand, and they're not able to move off it. Get short, says the MC, and she just tried to pop up with the left hand again, but to be honest, once she released the left hand, there's no way to generate any momentum off it.
Тоже было не так легко, как было нужно сделать.
This was it for her. Let's have a look.
Немножко, видимо, расстроена, но
Yeah, the problem is you can see it's just pushing the left hand side of her torso away from the wall when she levered herself up on the left leg like that.
Category junior. Men row. Please welcome representing Russia, Nikolai Yelovets.
Nikolai Yerelevets is underway on the men's route, so with perfect timing. Well done, climbers. We now have the cleaning break on the women's route. So both men's and women's semi-finals pretty tight, with the exception of Giorgio Bendazzoli, who we didn't actually see, but I'm assuming slipped very low down. There's 8 moves separating 12 climbers on the men's side. All the climbers out, as I say, apart from Nikolai and apart from Giorgio, excuse me. And on the women's side, we've got the top 10. It'll be 11 once we have Eva Maria Hamel-Muller's score. Be 11 climbers separated by 3 moves, so no doubting where the crux sections are. You'd have thought if you can get through those on the men's and the women's routes, that'll be enough to see you through. Nikolai now onto the steepest section of the men's route. You can see there on the top of your screen, it's Austria first and first. Nikolai has got that left hand in place. Are we going to see a bit of progress on this upper section? He's moving quickly, but I wouldn't say he looks especially tired. He looks like he's got a bit of energy left. Instead of crimping with his left hand facing to the left, kind of pinching it, but I think he might have wanted to have the left hand facing over to the left, because it certainly looked like he had a bit of energy remaining. So Philip Schenk now, champion from Innsbruck in 2017 in the Youth World Championship. He is getting ready to go. Exceptionally exciting young climber. Here he goes. As I say, the champion from Innsbruck in the bouldering, who's fourth in the lead, second in the combined. Getting ready to go. Lynn van der Meer of the Netherlands will be the next climber out once the cleaning is done on the women's route. You can see on the right there Remy Sama, a member of our route setting team here, the lead team, cleaning the women's route. The bouldering team now done. They've been here apparently since the 28th of July, so that's 2.5 weeks for the boulder route setting team, and set 92 boulders across 18 rounds. Doesn't really bear thinking about. They look pretty tired, put it that way. Here's Philip Schenk. Philip Schenk, Team Italy, one of the most exciting young climbers out there. And now he's on to that quarter star, the series of volumes over to the left. I love the star volumes here. I think they really add to this lead wall. Certainly give the route setters a lot more to play with. Philip Schenk reasonably steady through this lower section. Looks like he's climbing reasonably efficiently. Should have plenty left for this steepest section. It's a pumpy route this. You can see lots of round sloping holds Holds like that tire you out pretty quickly. Crosses through with his left hand. Now he needs to get the right onto that white crimp. There we go. And slap out left. Now he's got his knee, his left foot quite high. It's going to make that move in a way slightly harder because you've got to come over the top of your knee. But he's found a way and he's onto the snake hold just above the change in angle. And there's Remy Saman being lowered off the women's route. So it looks like we're about to get underway again there. They clean the routes after 13 climbers halfway through the semi-final. He's looking pretty handy here, Philip Schenk. Can he make it another final in a Youth World Championship? He's conserved his energy well. He's negotiated the crimps efficiently. Could do with not going too dynamically here. You want to do this move quite statically, and he knew what he wanted to do, but he just couldn't quite creep up in time before his arms gave out. And we lose him, having set almost certainly a new high point.
Посмотрим, что продемонстрирует данная спортсменка.
So we're underway again on the women's route. Mikel Asia Lina Sedoso Molina of Spain will climb on the men's route. Lynn Vandermeer of the Netherlands.
Стандартное прохождение маршрута. Ровно, четко, аккуратно. В принципе, как и вы думали, подготовщики.
She's up to the star in the middle. Going pretty well so far. Netherlands, of course, not known for its outdoor climbing, but they've got some pretty impressive indoor facilities. Surprising, given that it's the flattest country in Europe, that they have produced quite so many good climbers. Jorg and Veer in the World Cups, and now as well Lynn in the juniors.
Ох, какие эмоции у нас на полуфинале.
Category junior man group. Please welcome representing Japan, Shuta Tanaka.
Можно или можно? Мне говорили, что можно, дается 40 секунд на просмотр трассы и дальше можно.
Мы с вами уже смотрели, у них есть 6 минут на то, чтобы...
Ну да, это 6 минут перед. И потом еще непосредственно 40 секунд перед.
Готовиться.
Да. Вспомнить, так сказать, сделать чекпоинт. Ну что ж, а мы встречаем следующую спортсменку из Франции.
Women group representing France, the West Us.
Ale. Мягко, очень аккуратно. Проходит раз отсюда. Как будто выверяя каждое движение. Очень плавно, очень качественно. Пересекая. Кстати, у французов очень классная техника, располагает. Сделал сам качество очень близко к стене, что если помогает работать на маршруте, проходить трассу. Если это делать, то нужно слышать просто выкидить.
So here's Shooter. Apologies if my sound just dropped off for a while there. Apparently there was an issue with it. Should be back with you now. Shooter Tanaka now. Looking as solid as anyone has done up to this stage. It's not an easy move to get up to that snake-shaped hold. And now, if he can be efficient, and creep his way up and left along this white volume, he could put himself in a very, very strong position. We've seen a lot of climbers in this position slapping out for that left arête. Not a bit of it from Shooter. He's very smoothly making his way up. So this is a new high point being set now by Shooter Tanaka. You can see his right leg quivering with the effort. And he just couldn't quite stay on that big match on the white volume.
Я, кажется, понял, сейчас осознал, немножко был в растерянности спортсмен из Японии. И подумал, почему мне хлопают, я же...
В тот момент, когда не нужен переводчик, весь зал все понял.
Да.
Let's have another look at him. You can see his right leg was quivering away there.
Category junior man group, please welcome representing Great Britain, Maximilian Mill.
Соберемся по оттяжкам, которые...
This is Noah Ark going really well on the women's route. Could we see a top here? She looks so composed. Just needs to pop up with the right hand. Every move looks so certain. Norway Art putting in an amazing performance here on the women's route. And I think we're about to see a top. I can see her right at the top of the wall. I can't see exactly what she's doing. I think she's about to clip the final carabiner, and we do see a top. So Nolwenn Ark, she made the final in Briançon in the Senior World Cups back in July, and she is, I don't want to say certain, but very, very likely to make the final in the Youth World Championships here in Moscow. That move up to the green volume there, the last one where anything looked in doubt, and the final move up to that huge yellow hold. Pretty steady by her standards. Had a slightly awkward clip, could perhaps have done with getting her right hand instead of her left hand free, but it only cost her a couple of seconds, and she's on her way back down with the top in the bag. First top of either of the routes. Max Milne now is underway on the men's route. So Max, he's got that leftward facing orange hold. Oh, and he slaps up for that big white sausage shaped hold. It'll be interesting to see exactly what the problem was there. Perhaps the feet just cut loose. We could only see him from side on. We could only see his torso. Let's have a look. Tried to kind of match with his right hand as well as his left. I think the right foot popped, but I think he was also probably a bit short on the lunge up to the right hand end of that hold. Jasa Slemensek, regular training partner of Janja Garnbret, is midway up the women's route, which has just been topped by Nolwenn Ark. Matic Kotar of Slovenia is out next. It's all Slovenia on the wall as we look at it. Matic here is on the left hand side of the Moscow wall. Chiasa, 16th climber out on the middle right where the women are climbing. They're climbing just to the right of the huge star that dominates the lead wall. Chiasa getting ready to launch into the upper section of the route. Really conserves her energy pretty well, Chiasa, but needs to up the pace a bit now. Chiasa a few moves away now from what's absolutely proving to be the crux, but the route has been topped now. Nolwenn Ark got it done. There's some pretty strong climbers still to come. Doubt you'll need a top to make the semi-finals, but it's not out of the question given the calibre of climbers still to come. Chasa now out onto that round hold. There's 2 screw-on holds in there. You can see a swap in between them. And we've just lost Matic. I'm not sure where that was. We just cut across as he was lowering down. And we've also lost Chasa, where we didn't see either fall. Let's see if we can get some replays for you. So this was Matic. Must have been very low on the route, presumably. We are none the wiser. Chasa does not look happy at all with that performance. Well, we shall see. I'll wait for their results to come through. Min Young Lee now of South Korea, the 20th man to try his luck on this route. This was Chasa. And she tried to go with the right hand. Looked tired, and it also looked an awful long way. Michelle Hulliger, the 17th climber out on the women's route. There she is. Min Young Lee rocketing up this lower section, not wasting any time. And Michelle Hulliger underway as well on the women's route. Michelle having a good couple of seasons recently. Looking pretty strong. Couple of semi-finals for her. Vila and Chamonix already this year in the Senior World Cups. And this is her last year as a youth competitor. She needs to make it count. Min Young Lee now really entering the toughest section of this men's route. He's the 7th to last climber out, so Philip Schenk knows that he'll be into the final. Min Young Lee looking pretty handy here. Coming out left, seems very decisive in his movements. Using his height to good advantage there. That move looks an awful lot shorter than it has done for some climbers. A lot of shouting coming from the floor, directed at Michelle Hulliger. Reasonable number of Swiss climbers here. Min Young Lee also getting plenty of encouragement. South Korea have brought a big team, and we haven't seen the top yet of the men's route. Shooter Tanaka currently holds the high point, and that could well be enough for Min Young Lee.
залетать. Ну, а серьезно, очень достойная работа.
Let's have another look how it ended.
Как у представителя Кореи, так и у представительницы.
Yeah, went out with the left hand. Saw Shooter Tanaka earlier doing that move pretty statically. I think if you slap for it, you've got to be incredibly accurate and have pretty amazing contact strength as well. Michelle Hulliger, also 32 plus. We had a lot of ties in the semi-final. We've got a lot of ties, in the qualifiers. We've also got a lot of ties in this semi-final. So the last thing we want is to have more than 8 climbers through. The whole point, if you like, of the semi-final, as well as to entertain the climbers and us, is to make sure that we get the 8 finalists we want. So all Italy on the wall now. Pietro Biagini on the men's route, and Giorgia Tesio, who had a good bouldering semi-final the other day, is onto the women's route. There she is. And for some reason on my scores, Shooter Tanaka's score is not showing up. But he certainly holds a high point. Here's Giorgia Tesio. Apparently there's a problem with the judges' tablets, so we're going to be missing some results. They will come through bit by bit, slowly but surely, but apologies, we aren't going to get all the live results. Apparently it's a problem with the judges' tablets. Pietro Biagini now onto the men's route, just about to enter kind of the lead into the crux section. So slap out right, just like that. Come back left, and then he's got to go up for the white snake-shaped hold. Gets the clip done nice and early. Could be an intelligent move, that, because it means he can climb now without thinking at all about clipping the rope. Giorgia Tesio simultaneously is entering the real meat of that women's route. And again he slaps up to the left, Pietro Biagini, and he's just short. I think if at all possible you want to try and do that move statically. Let's have another look. There's Giorgia Tesio. Let's see if the women's scores are coming through. I know the men's haven't been. Giorgia Tesio, yeah, her scores come through 31 plus. Sadly for her, that's not going to be enough to see her through. She is currently in 8th place, but you would have to suggest very unlikely to stay there. So Jakub Konechny, we also saw in the bouldering earlier in the week on the live stream, springing through those early moves. There's some of Team Austria, including Laura Stuckler. So Nina Artaud of France. Been a good day for Team France. Nowen Arc, the only climber to top either of the routes so far. She got the job done on the women's route, and I have to say, didn't look as if she found it very hard. As if she could have done another lap. Jakub Konechny clipping from what has to be said, looks a pretty uncomfortable position. Both climbers just about to enter the steepest section. Jakub Konechny, the fifth to last climb, and then we've got Meiichi Narasaki, Nimrod Marcus, Kai Harada and Yannick Floe still to come. So a very strong lineup left on the men's side. Can we find a top? It'd be really nice to think that we could. Still waiting for a few of the scores to come through. Shooter Tanaka's one of the scores we're currently waiting for. He has got a high point, but we don't know exactly what it is. It wasn't a top. Nowen Arc, the only top so far this semi-final, as I just mentioned. Here's Jakub Konechny. Those looking on, increasingly vocal now. This is critical for places in the finals. Jakub Konechny now crimping his way out and to the left. Needs to stay static if at all possible. If you start slapping for these holds, very, very difficult. You've got to just settle your fingers on the sweet spot of the hold. And that was Nina Artaud there. So hopefully we can go back to Jakub Konechny. Here he is. He's got himself locked off. Can he reach up with the right hand? Ah, as soon as he missed it the first time, it'd be very hard to think he'd have another go. So Jakub Konechny could well have done enough. As I say, we are not getting live scores, sadly, on the men's side. He's, yeah, according to my scores, he's moved up to second, but I haven't got all the scores, so I think that is probably third, which I think is probably enough. Bear with me. So here is Meiichi Narasaki, the champion in the junior bouldering from a couple of days ago. You might remember he beat Kai Harada in a pretty dramatic final. Moriwaki Hanoka now of Japan, climbing on the women's route. What scores we have coming up on your screen as we speak. Big tie in 6th place right now, so that would mean that we ended up with, if we get more ties there, potentially more finalists from the 8 we would like. Meiichi now. Not wasted any time getting stuck into this route. He's about to enter the beginning of the crux. Moriwaki on the other side on the women's route. No problem so far. Now then, Meiichi's height, I think, will be an advantage on this route. You get onto those crimps towards the top. This move here, it's a slightly awkward clip. This move here up with the right hand should be a bit easier for him, just being that bit taller. Yeah, the reach looks a bit less, and I was just thinking, yeah, these next moves out and up to the left could be made slightly easier by his height. It's slightly less reachy, and the move off the top of these crimps, so that pinch right in the middle of the wall, will definitely be a bit easier for the tall. First things first, so he's got to get there. Doesn't look as if he's especially tired. Puffs his cheeks out briefly. You can see there the top, the best bit of that hold is blocked off on the right hand side. Now he goes up statically with the left hand. Yeah, this move to this pinch, I think, might be a bit easier for him. The problem was he was getting tired and he slapped for it. And you've got to get that hold so precisely. Meiichi Narasaki back down, having done, I think, more than enough to make the final. Hopefully I will get some up-to-date scores soon. We can focus now on Moriaki Honoka, excuse me. Nimrod Marcus now will be climbing on the men's route. We'll focus on Moriaki. Now then, can she find another top? She's got that tough move with her left hand up. She doesn't look too taxed, certainly not giving much away, that's for sure. She'd make a good poker player. Japanese team making an awful lot of noise down the front of the wall. And she's almost towards the end, almost at the end, in fact, of the green volumes. And as she went up for the first of the two yellow volumes, just ran out of gas slightly. That'll be enough to get her into the final, though. She can't quite match No When Ark's top. This is Meiichi Narasaki. I think if he managed to get a solid heel hook there, he might have been one thing, but that toe hook just wasn't stable enough. Slight fumble on the chalking up from Moriaki. Maybe that cost her. She won't mind too much, though, as long as she's through. I'm pretty sure she will be. Scores coming along the top of the screen. Just remember, we are missing Shooter Tanaka's score. So he'd be in there, right at the top end of the order. Nimrod Marcus now. Again, a name that might be familiar to regular IFSC viewers. This is Elena Krasovskaya in action here, Team Russia. Really getting to the business end of this semi-final. Places being decided left, right and centre. Nimrod Marcus currently on the wall. After him there's only Kai Harada and Yannick Floey after Elena Krasovskaya. We've got 5 female climbers left to go. Nimrod Marcus looking pretty good here on the men's route. Just trying to figure out how to clip. And he slapped up with the right hand, and there was a bit of indecision there about when and how to clip. And looked like he got pumped quite quickly. Suddenly looked slightly tired. tried a couple of different positions. He's quite a long way short on that slap up with the right hand. So Elena Krasovskaya, what can she do?
Category juniors, men group, it's welcome, representing Japan, Kai Harada.
Kai Harada's about to start climbing on the men's route. What an emotional bouldering final he had to lay on the mat for it. Oh, it must have been 5 minutes afterwards. Just in disbelief that he hadn't won. It was in his hands. He could have won it and he didn't. And he was absolutely heartbroken. I felt so sorry for him on the podium. He just, he really felt he could have won it. And although he was pleased for Meichi, he was absolutely gutted. He's got to mentally get back in the game now. Ready for the lead. So Elena Krasovskaya's got that hard move done out to the right hand, and goes with the right hand again. We've not seen that method used many times. Gets the clip done, and now she'll pull onto the head wall. Nolwenn arced top of this route, looking increasingly impressive as time goes by. Climbers are coming in reverse order, of course, so theoretically the strongest climbers come last, but Nolwenn Arc was 15th. She topped the route, and she will be in the final. Elena Krasovskaya is almost certainly going to be in the final as well, but she needs to find something to do with that right foot if she wants to make any more progress on this women's route. She's kind of hugging those volumes with her legs. Here's Kai Harada on the men's route. So Elena Krasovskaya didn't find a top, but I'm pretty sure that'll be her into the final. We'll wait for her exact score to come through. This is her aiming for those round yellow balls. And she had a slightly hopeful stab at that first one. Yeah, that's her into second place. And with 5 climbers to go, that means she's going to be in the final. Kai Harada. Second to last climber on the men's side. For some reason, as I say, Shuta Tanaka's score, the only one that's missing on the men's side. Certainly a technical issue of some description, but we'll focus on his compatriot Kai for now. Kai lining up that tough move out with the right hand, and that stopped so many of the climbers today. It just stopped Meichi Narasaki, and it stops Kai Harada. He'll have done enough though, that'll be him through. That move is 34 plus, no one else has been through that move. Apart from Shuta Tanaka, whose score we are still waiting for. Kai Harada safely through. So the last climber out on the men's side, Yannick Floe. Victoria Meshkova of Russia is climbing on the women's route. Victoria Meshkova is high on the wall now, so we've got 4 female climbers still to come after her, but the men's semi-final is about to conclude. Yannick Floe, latest climber on the wall, also a man that enjoyed the bouldering earlier this week.
20. Идет человек до него, понятное дело, что ответственность большая, это полуфинал. Але
Victoria Meshkova on women's route, right hand side of the wall. She's just entering these triangular volumes.
И вот сейчас я услышал наш русский «давай-давай» от представителей разных стран. Здорово это, конечно, звучит, когда все поддерживают спортсменов. Но наша задача поболеть как следует за нашу сборную, за наших спортсменов.
Well, I finally have news of Shooter Tanaka. Stand by. We've waited a long time for his score, and I have it for you. But we'll focus now on Victoria Meshkova and Yannick Floe before we worry about Shooter Tanaka. First things first, Yannick Floe, who made the semi-final in Arco in his last World Cup, is battling hard here on the men's route. And he just hurried through a couple of moves, but he's somehow regained his composure. Victoria Meshkova, meanwhile, is looking in a pretty good position on this women's route, but just struggling to hold on to that position that she got herself established on. Disappointing for her, but it could well be enough. Yannick Floe, meanwhile, is on his right foot put. That momentum just took him right, and in order for those crimps to be any good, you've got to be leaning left. Now, Graham Alderson, our technical delegate here in Moscow, just came to see me about Shooter Tanaka. I couldn't work out why Shooter Tanaka's score wasn't coming up. It was the only one that wasn't coming up, and it was the high points on the route. Well, it turns out that he should have, he got to hold 37, but he's going to be awarded a 27 because at hold 27, or moving off hold 27, he actually trod on one of the bolts. He used one of the bolts as a foothold. So his attempt officially ended there. So whilst we saw Shooter Tanaka climb much higher than that to hold 37, the judges saw him standing on a bolt lower down. I wouldn't in any way suggest that was intentional, but Shooter Tanaka's score is going to be 27, 10 moves short of where he actually got to on the wall, but the last move that he did legally. So 27 for Shooter Tanaka. Real shame for him because, as I say, he'd still be in first place. Nobody yet has got to his high point, but he's going to be awarded a 27. So we have got our male finalist, and Yannick Floe. His score's just come up, and he did make it through. 31 was enough to get him through. So our finalists on the men's side will be Kai Harada, Meiichi Narasaki, Min Young Lee, Jakub Konechny, Philip Schenk, Matthias Posch, Pietro Biagini and Yannick Floe. And Shooter Tanaka's score has just popped up as a 27. So apologies that we didn't have that score for you earlier. I was just as confused as you were. And Oskar Rapusic is on the wall now. So at last the mystery of Shooter Tanaka's score is solved, sadly for him. Despite reaching a high point on the men's route, he did so having broken a rule at hold 27.
Attention please, the isolation.
Oskar Rapusic of Slovenia is now on the wall. Vita Lukan of Slovenia will be climbing next, and Hana Slaney, and then Mia Krampel of Slovenia. So Slovenia dominating the top end of proceedings here on the women's side. 3 out of the last 4 climbers are Slovenian. Just watch her entering the steepest section. We've got a mouth-watering men's final in prospect here in the juniors. I'm just looking through that list again that I read out to you. Kai Harada and Meichi Narasaki, who had such a ding-dong, if you like, in the men's bouldering, are going to resume hostilities in the lead. So it'll be fascinating. Yannick Floe in there as well. Very, very strong lineup. Lustka now, she's got that move on the right hand. Could probably do with clipping because it's not especially comfortable to clip from there. Well, I guess it is if you're strong enough. Take that back. Now most people have gone up to that hold with their left hand. If you can make it work from the right, it does seem a more effective method. You can see how hard she's having to work now. They're really awkward moves, these, because your feet are kind of hidden from you. They're still on the steeper section of the wall as you pull onto lower angled ground. And she slaps up again to that first of 2 yellow volumes. And that's where we lose her. Vita Luken, her compatriot, will be out next. That's 34 plus, who's the second climber after Elena Krasovskaya to get that score. So 34 plus is essentially slapping for those first of those 2 yellow round volumes on the women's route. Vanda Michalkova in the glasses there, who helped me out in the commentary box. I think it was yesterday. We've had a lot of climbing to bring you here in Moscow. Awful lot more still to come as well. Still 2 more semi-finals and 3 finals still to go. Vita Luken now trying to claim a place in one of those finals. So Vita now onto the start. She's not quite yet up onto the steeper section of the walls. You can see the triangular volumes beginning just above her. Now she's on to the triangular volumes. Vita Luken, the 3rd to last climber on the women's side of things. Gets the clip done now. She can launch into these green volumes.
Снова удобное место для отдыха. Готовится, сила не собирается. Ну что, сейчас у него будет рывок.
Vita Lucan now gunning for a place in the women's final. She's the third to last climber. That means that the top 5 are guaranteed their spots in the final. Morawaki Honoka currently in 5th in the potential drop zone. Nina Artaud of France, Michelle Hulliger of Switzerland, and Lena Groupillon of France as well. Lara Stuckler is in 9th place. She's going to miss out, and Eva Maria Hammelmuller also going to miss out. Vita Lucan, she'll need a 34 to get through, so that basically means getting to the triangular hold before the 2 yellow volumes. So only a couple more moves for Vita Lucan to secure her place in tomorrow's final. We've got another packed day of action for you tomorrow. And I'm pretty sure that's it for Vita Lucan. That's definitely it. That's hold number 35, so she's going to be in 2nd place as it stands with 2 climbers to go. I have to say she's looked pretty unbothered by any of the moves so far. So are we about to see a top? We've already seen one from Nolwenn Ark, and Vita Lucan has nailed what I think is the last really hard move on the route up to that green volume. She'll clip the chains and she will claim a top.
Yeah, bravo, bravo.
And there we have it. Vita Lucan lowers down. Job done.
It was wonderful. Ну что ж, это было великолепно, было здорово. Было очень
Vita Lucan, there you can see, it's only a top once you've clipped the quick draw, so you can't celebrate and lob off from the top hold. You've got to get that clipped in order to count as a top. It wouldn't actually matter at this stage because Vita Lucan will be through to the final anyway. So, Hana Slaney now, the bouldering champion from 2 days ago. I was chatting to Hannah the other day and put it to her that she's more of a lead climber. She said, no, everyone thinks I'm more of a lead climber, but I'm a lead climber and a boulderer equally. She's very keen to insist that she is not a lead climber who does bouldering. She is a climber who does both disciplines. So, can she make it a double? First things first, she's got to claim a place in the final. And again, in order to do that, she'll have to get to the hold just before those 2 yellow round holds on the head wall. So that's where she's aiming for. That would be enough to get her into the final. So that means Lena Groupillon of France has missed out, by the way, from Vita Lucan topping the route. The route's seen 2 tops. Men's route didn't see any. Shooter Tanaka got the highest. If you're just joining us, Shooter Tanaka had his score bumped from 37 down to 27 because on hole 27, when he moved off it, he had his foot on one of the bolts, so it was an illegal move, so his score is counted from where he made his last legal move. But he had, albeit illegal, he set the high point on the men's route. Nobody managed to top it. The highest legal high point, I feel a bit bad calling it illegal, but that's essentially what it was. As Kai Harada and Meiichi Narasaki, they both shared it on 34 plus.
позволяет нам гарантировать нам точную постановку
So Hana Slaney
и хорошую технику.
into the triangular volume section.
Если вы купите дорогие скалики, да, и наденьте их, вы сразу будете лазить 7А, 7С, девятки. Но, в принципе, правильно подобранная обувь, как и в любом виде спорта, как и в жизни, как и в армии, играет очень большую роль.
This is where it really kicks in, this women's route. This section through the volumes, we haven't lost many climbers actually through it, but it just kind of tires you out for the really tough moves above.
Очень уверенно движется спортсменка.
And it would seem not having too many troubles as yet. The key through this section really just to keep moving efficiently.
Юниоров оставил свое снаряжение, его можно забрать в предстартовой зоне. Кто из юниоров оставил свое снаряжение, заберите его, пожалуйста, в предстартовой зоне.
Attention please. One of the male athletes from category juniors left his climbing equipment at the Polska.
So she can get this clip done nice and early. You can just see a strain just beginning to show on her face. She can get her right hand out and then she'll probably lead with the left, although we see climbers do both. She does well to hold that swing. Quite a few climbers have slapped that hold and not managed to stay on it. And Hana pops up with the right hand, and that's not going to be enough for her. She's not going to make the final. That's a real disappointment for Hana Slaney. She is, of course, the youth world champion in bouldering. That's a shame. She seemed to get quite tired quite quickly, just entering the change of angle, heading onto the head wall. But let's see where that puts her. It's going to be very tight. And her score's just popped up. She's got 32 plus, and that is just enough to get her into the final. Let's have a look. So she's secured that hold with her left hand. And that is what a 32 plus looks like. And she will not be disappointed. She couldn't have left it. She couldn't have had it much closer, I should say. But she ends up in 7th place. And it is just about enough because there is only one climber to go. So Hana Slaney, I somewhat pessimistically thought that wasn't enough. It is going to be enough, just. An excellent performance in the qualifying round has got Hana Slaney through, because interestingly enough, there's no less than 5 climbers on 32 plus and a further 3 on 32. So 8 climbers got around that hold and that move where Hana Slaney was. As I say, count back to an excellent qualifying day has got her through to the final. 32 plus for her. She has made it. And the prospect of a medal in 2 disciplines is still on for Hana. So final climber out in the semi-final today, Mia Krampel.
Ну что, да, у нас уже завершились соревнования у юношей, и можно сказать, что если бы дали многим юношам, юниорам, да, вторую попытку, то многие дали...
Mia Krampel, the last climber out here, narrowly missed out on a final in the bouldering.
Никто, да, то есть никто не дошел на ту мужскую трассу. Если бы дали вторую попытку, то, вероятнее всего, были бы хорошие пролазы. Но такие правила. Трудности. В полуфинале что дается всего одна трасса и одна попытка. И чтобы
Again, she's just entering this triangular section.
с первого раза.
Key is just to keep going, keep it nice and smooth. Don't make any route reading mistakes. Try and arrive onto the moves leading onto the head wall and the head wall itself with as much energy as possible.
Колоссальную выдержку, силу и технику.
Slightly fiddly there with the clip. Remember, she can't climb past it. You can't skip clips out. So you've got to find a way of getting it done, and I think she's clipped that. Is the rope perhaps caught in the carabiner gate? Just trying to see a bit closer. I don't think so. No, clearly not. Trick of the eye. So now Mia Krampel heading up, ready for the change in angle. Does ease off slightly. Just so much depends on how much energy you've got left, and that is hold 32. And we saw it was just enough for Hana Slaney to slap up from here, and it would be for Mia. But she'd like a top. Countback is so often crucial, especially in lead climbing, and especially it seems in women's lead climbing. So often seems to be the way that countback is the key. But she needs to move from here. That's hold 32. I'm pretty sure if she doesn't move from here, if she falls here, it won't be enough. She's got to make some upward progress of some description. She slaps up. Now, will the judges give her a plus for that? It could be absolutely crucial to whether she makes it into the final. We will await her score to come through. This is going to be very, very tight for Mia Krampel. That's hold 32. She needs a 32 plus by my reckoning to get through. So the judges have got a decision to make. Is this a plus? You can see her fiddling around trying to find some way of moving up. Could be pretty tight. And she is awarded a 32. It's not enough for Mia Krampel. I have to say it may have been slightly generous if they had given her a plus. I know she was heading up, but even so she ends up in 12th place after a brilliant qualifying round. She does not make it into the final. So there is your confirmed top 8. Vita Luka Nowinark, Uska Rapusic, Elena Krasovskaya, Victoria Meshkova, Moriwaki Honoka, Hana Slaney and Nina Artaud. Michelle Hulliger and Lena Groupiron just missing out in 9th and 10th. And lower down the order, we just saw her there, the winner, if you like, the highest ranked climber from the qualifiers, Mia Krampel, does not make it into the top 8. She doesn't even make it into the top 10. Disappointment for her. Ditto her compatriot, Chiasa Slamenzek, a bit lower down. And there we see the 6 climbers, including Mao Nakamura, rounding out the 26 on the women's side. And over on the men's, Kai Harada and Meiichi Narasaki will battle once again, this time on a lead wall. And they'll take on in the final Jakub Konecny, Minyoung Lee, Philip Schenk, Matthias Posch, Pietro Biagini and Yannick Floe. Tight, both semi-finals very tight, 2 tops on the women's. And Shuta Tanaka there in 13th, although he did get to the highest points on the wall, he did so having broken an IFSC rule and trodden on a bolt. So he gets downgraded to 27. So the lead action is underway here in Moscow. You've got about half an hour for another load because we've got the Youth A climbers on the wall at 6 PM local time. I will see you very shortly for that.